May we start, sir? It's 3:30.
Sure, from my side.
Okay, thank you, sir. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is Dr. Falgu Niranjana. On behalf of School of Business, ASBM University, I welcome you all to this webinar on work-life balance, myth and reality. I request all of you to kindly turn off your audio and video. You can raise your questions in the chat box. Before I move on to today's theme and introduce our eminent panelists, I'd like to inform all of you that Asian School of Business Management was started in 2006. It was founded by Professor Biswajit Patnaik in 2006, and it was inaugurated by the then Vice President of India, His Excellency Sri Vairog Singh Shekhawat, along with our Honorable Chief Minister Sri Naveen Patnaik. After a remarkable journey of 14 years, the institute has been upgraded to a state university by the government of Odisha last year on 26 September. Now, coming to the theme of the webinar, all of us we know that balancing professional life with the personal life has always been very difficult, and it has become even more complex with the advancement of technology. It is very common nowadays to take official calls and access official communication through emails and WhatsApp throughout the day and night. Even we do that on holidays. Some people do it either because they are very, very responsible, they are very, very passionate about their work, and some people do it, they might do it because they are scared of losing the job and they do it out of compulsion. Whatever may be the reason, ultimately the work intrudes into our personal life. Now, quoting a recent survey by Harvard Business School, they found that 94% of working professionals reported they work for more than 50 hours a week, while nearly 50% said that they work for more than 65 hours a week. That is why many people think that work-life balance is a myth. The more we give time to our professional life, we lose in our personal life. Our personal life suffers. The more we give to our personal life, our work suffers. So that is in fact anyhow is creating a negative impact on our relationships, the happiness and on our health. To deliberate more on this topic, we have with us today two eminent personalities who have contributed substantially to this area. Dr. Biswajit Patnaik and Mr. Richard Rekhi. Mr. Richard Rekhi is the former CEO of KPMG India and is currently on the board of KPMG Dubai. A chartered accountant by profession, he started his career with RSM and Co. and an organization he is very proud of. In a career spanning close to 4 decades, he has made substantial contribution in leadership roles to very renowned organizations like Arthur Andersen, Ernst & Young, and KPMG. He is highly skilled at enterprise risk management, business planning, internal audit, accounting, and customer relationship management. Professor Biswajit Patnaik, the founder and president of ASBM University, is an eminent psychologist and a distinguished academician with masters in psychology, PhD in Delete and organizational behavior, and DSc in management science. He has been a professor of IIM Lucknow and IIM Indore. With 91 research publications in national and international refereed journals and 25 books to his credit, he is regarded as an authority in HRM. His interest in this area started with his doctoral research on psychological well-being and then postdoctoral research on quality of work life. In fact, his master's thesis was on helplessness. I now request Professor Patnaik to share his thoughts on work-life balance as a psychologist and academician. Please, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Niranjana. Mr. Richard Reiki, the industry thought leaders today, and my dear participants, good afternoon to all of you. I extend my sincere thanks to Professor Niranjana choosing this particular topic and putting me and Mr. Reiki together. I think it's an excellent platform to share our thoughts. In fact, this topic is close to my heart from my student career, page of my student career. I did my first research in the area of helplessness syndrome. And it is quite interesting that we learn helplessness in our normal day-to-day life, and which leads to a lot of negative thought process. Now I would like to start from the genesis of work-life expectations, which normally lead to work-life imbalance. In fact, the human life shapes through nature and nurture, which invariably triggers us to aspire and excel. When I say nature and nurture, nature means when we take bath, we imbibe certain qualities, some kinds of nature, the characteristics of behavior by genetic transmission. And when I say nurture, nurture is basically the impact of environment on us. How the child is being nurtured by the parents, by the significant others, and the society at large. These two facets, or these two stages of our life always impact how we take a shape in the long run in our own life and shaping our own destiny sometimes. It is very interesting, I have seen the parental success and failures are mostly uploaded to the child. If a parent is highly successful, he wants the child has to, he has failed or she has failed in any kind of segment of his life or a particular aim he could not realize, then they want to see that dream of their own dream. There is a parental expectation which builds in the child's expectation. Further, it is loaded with expectations of his or her significant others. When the child grows up, he creates a family, and the significant others would be husband, wife, children, or maybe friends, and they also try to influence. This plays an important role as a foundation of the work-life imbalance. When the expectation builds, obviously the person is being stressed and try to meet those expectations, and as a result, very difficult to maintain balance. Moreover, today we are in an environment of VUCA. All of you must have heard this term VUCA. It stands for volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity, which has tremendous impact on both our work and life. Of course, this has been further precipitated by COVID-19, and I'm sure all of you will agree with me. All of us, we run in the life. When I ask many people that why you run, the reply is very interesting. Many a times people don't know why they run. They say that I run because other people, they have understood the purpose of life and they run with the competition. Most of the people, they don't understand the purpose of life, but they run because others do run. When you need to excel in one facet of life, whether personal, professional, or social, the other two are marginalized and it creates imbalance. This is quite natural because the time, energy, and resources at our disposal are limited. Therefore, excellence in one facet of life will be at the cost of other one or two facets depending on the mutual inclusivity. As you know, work-life balance is basically a state of in which the demands of both a person's job and person's life so now the equilibrium is disturbed because you give more emphasis, more importance to one facet in comparison to the other facets of life. The ideal thought everybody carries that these three facets of life should be balanced so that you are perfect. This, in my opinion, is a myth and not a reality. Now there is a question, do we need to balance the work and life, or do we need to manage imbalance of work and life? If we try to balance, then the focus is distributed and you may land up as a mediocre person. A mediocre is one about whom you cannot speak of as being great. A great statesman may be a mediocre parent. A great parent may not be a great statesman, and so on, so forth. Hence, the focus should be, in my opinion, to minimize the imbalances and create a state of well-being. When I say a state of well-being, what does it mean? Well-being is basically, the balancing mechanism. How do you become happy? The state of being comfortable, healthy, or happy is called well-being. To begin with, you need to think and define your purpose of life. As I said, that many times we are in the trap of competitions unnecessarily without understanding what is our purpose of life, what we are intending to have in the life, what ultimately is going to make us happy. And that has to be determined depending on your embedded interest. That will help you to focus and drive. Hence, if you want to be the best in one, if somebody claims that he is the best in all the three facets of life, then either he or she is a hypocrite or Superman woman, or he has not understood the concept of the best. Best in all three: personal, professional, and social life is basically a utopian thought which doesn't exist in reality. So, how do we manage imbalance? Which I said that the best step is to manage imbalance so that there should not be too much disparity. And how do we create a state of well-being? I would like to focus on how you maximize the satisfaction and happiness in both work and life. The ultimate aim should be well-being. To my understanding, it is not the quantum of work which disturbs. It is the quantum of dissatisfaction or negative thoughts which impact well-being. You need to develop a positive thought process to get rid of negative vibes. There is no one size fits all balanced plan you should be striving for. Rather, you need to draw your own plan. It would be grossly injustice to yourself if you adopt somebody else's recipe, somebody else's plan of the life. You should design your own life plan. How do you manage your negative thoughts and create a state of well-being? I have some tips which are not the medicine, which are not the solutions, but with my personal experience and looking at the experience of others, I would like to give you some of the tips to manage your work-life imbalance and to create a state of well-being. First one is acknowledge and accept that you cannot do everything all the time. And you cannot make everybody happy all the time. I know it's very difficult. It's very difficult, but it is very easy to say. I can say, but it is very difficult to implement by all of you. But this is the only solution, that we must accept Superman. We are not a person who can do magic in the life. The second tip, manage yourself, not the time. It is being told every time, manage your time. Time flows like a water. So we need to manage ourselves according to the time. The third one is add and subtract. To do more of one thing, you must do less of others. If you feel that I have to do everything the best, not possible. You have to choose and prioritize. to add and to whom you need to subtract. There are three categories of people in your life. Category A, they are the best people in your life who add value to you and to your life. They are category A. There is a category B. They are neutral. Neither they are negative nor they are positive. They never add any value to your life. And the C category, the third category, is the category of people those are always drain you. They keep on using. So my suggestion to all of you, please spot and identify these three kinds of people in your life. Accept the category A people and move on. They are always in your bad days and good days. They are your best friend. They are your philosophers. They are your guide. They may be from your family. They may not be from your family. But they are the greatest asset in your life. So retain them. Be with them. The people those who are neutral, it is sometimes better to ignore. The third category, I told you, they are the negative vibes. It is better to avoid them. It is better to keep distance from them. Now the next suggestion is just say no. Do you know that we are the biggest failure in our life to say no? And I appreciate always the Western people. They so quickly say no. We mean no, but we never express. That is because of our grooming process. That is because of our cultural predisposition. That how do I say no? He may feel bad. He may think something negative about me. Let me tell you that telling yes is dangerous. If you tell everybody yes, you cannot do justice. So try to learn how to say no. And if you start saying no, then your yes will become stronger. And that will give you dividend. The next one is, happiness is the legitimate purpose of life that requires disciplined pursuit. There is a concept which I feel is very strong. I keep on telling to my students, to my friends, that there is a concept called destination happiness and process happiness. Some people, they are highly engrossed and they pursue destination happiness. Destination means the position, the authority, which is always temporary. The process satisfaction is you derive pleasure out of it. Look at the mother. All of us, we are blessed because of our mother. And the mother derives a pleasure through process satisfaction. I always say a typical housewife mother, promotion. She has never got promotion. It is only the change of role depending on the age and phases of life. But look at her. Every day morning, with a smiling face, she feeds the children. And she keeps on serving whole life. Even there is no retirement. That is called the process satisfaction. You must derive happiness while doing something. Then that will not create stress in you. That will not disturb you. That will not create imbalance. The next one is away from destination addiction. A great psychologist, British psychologist, he coined this term called destination addiction. Dr. Robert Holden, in his great book, Authentic Success, which has been published in 2011, which is one of the best sellers. Holden said that the destination addiction. What is destination addiction? Destination addiction means a preoccupation with the idea that happiness is in the next place, the next job, and with the next partner. Until you give up the idea, it will never be where you are. Always you will keep on grieving. Always you will keep on waiting for the next to come. And therefore, you need to keep yourself away from the destination addiction, that is suicidal. I think the next one which I would like to share with all of you, there is a great experiment which has been undertaken by Dr. Kobasa. Dr. Kobasa did a study taking 700 executives, working professionals from AT&T Corporation. And it is very interesting. She found that the people, those who are type A personality, means the personality which is prone to ischemic heart disease, the personality which generates a lot of stress, even if the people are in that category, suffering from stress. And she said it is important to create a hardy personality, an hardy personality. What do you mean by hardy personality? When I say hardy personality, it has been defined by Dr. Kobasa. Hardy personality reflects in three characteristics. One is commitment, then control, and third one is challenge. The commitment to self, to work, to family, and other important values. Without commitment, you will not have a state of well-being. Personal control over oneself. We lose when we don't have control over our own life. It is important to have control on your own life. The third one is the ability to see change in one's life as a challenge to master. You need to take things as challenge. Then you will enjoy the process. I would like to conclude with the quote from the great psychologist Carl Rogers, the great American psychologist, and among the founders of the humanistic approach to psychology, has rightly said, the good life is a process, not a state of being. My friends, life is a journey, and the journey has to be eventful. So also, the life journey, the journey which we take in the life has to be eventful. I am sure that we all will put our best efforts to make our life more meaningful and achieve the state of well-being. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. This is like you very nicely related psychological health and well-being to work-life balance. Now I request Mr. Richard Reckley to kindly share his perspective as a practitioner on work-life balance. This area is very close to his heart. Sir, please. Sir, you're mute. Kindly unmute.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you, Professor Niranjana and Professor Patnaik. Thank you very much for inviting me to this panel. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and everybody who's on this panel. And it's really a privilege to talk on this subject, which today is one of the most relevant topics for two reasons. Work-life balance has always been a topic of discussion, a topic of debate. People have different views on it. There is no one single right answer to this. We will all come from different views as to what we think about it. And this issue has even been further compounded recently from work from home, where actually your office has moved into your home. And now there are no lines. The lines that were there earlier have been completely blurred. So you start in the morning, you don't know what time you're going to end. You don't know whether you're going to get a lunch break or what time you're going to get a call, or all these different calls, Google, Zoom, Teams, different platforms, webinars, everything is happening at the same time. Unfortunately, what we are looking at today is not people, but screens. And somewhere along the line, I think a sort of irritation is coming into people, too much of screen time, and people are getting frustrated with that. But before I start my topic, I would just like to read a small quote from one of my favorite people, which is Steve Jobs, who said, and I quote, "Your time is limited, so don't waste it living someone else's life. Don't be trapped by dogma, which is living with the results of other people's thinking. Don't let the noise of others' opinions drown out your own inner voice. And most important, have the courage to follow your heart and intuition." I think this work-life balance, honestly, for me, I call it work-life harmony. We need to find the harmony between work and life. But as the topic is work-life balance, I will stick to that topic. I think it's very important that before I get into the topic, I would like to set the context. Set the context in the sense, each of us are at different phases of our career. Some of us are starting our careers, some of us have reached somewhere in life, and we are in very, very different journeys. And it takes a lot to get you where you are. I have a very simple thing: what you sow, you reap. If you're going to work hard, somebody asked me once, long back, I was speaking at some conference, and some young student, MBA second year student, came up to me and asked me, so what is your mantra for success? I said, work hard for the next 20 years. And then we can think of what it is. Because if you do not work hard, and I remember this once, John F. Kennedy was asked as to why did you decide to go to the moon in a decade? In 10 years from now, you said you want to put man on the moon. So what is it that drove you? He said, this and many other decisions we took, not because they are easy, but because they are hard. I think if you want to have a life which is worth living, it's a call we all have to take. So I'm not going to now tell you that this is the completely right answer. If you want to be successful, if you want to make it in life, you got to work hard. And that hard work means you need to love what you're doing. You need to love the work that you're doing. I can give you a small example of myself. I used to work in a medium-sized chartered accountant firm called Ratan S. Mama and Company. That's where I started my career. I was there 13 years of my life. And then I moved to Arthur Andersen. And it took a lot of hard work to get from a medium-sized firm to possibly the best accounting firm in the country at that time, and then to meet the quality standards, etc., that they expected. But one had to work doubly hard. And it took a lot of steam out of an individual, out of me personally, for what I had to. And then the results come. At the end of it, the results come. I've now spent more than 25 years, 24 years in the Big Four, most of it in KPMG. And I think a few years in Andersen, 6-7 years in Andersen, and just 2 years in Ernst & Young. But I think the important point is, the one thing which I take with myself is that I think Professor Patnaik alluded to it. You need to have a purpose in your life. Once you have a purpose, as to what are you out there. And I would put my own twist to it. I call it my higher purpose. What is your higher purpose? And when you can find your higher purpose in your life, you will be able to reach somewhere in life. We all need to find that higher purpose. We need to find the purpose as to why we are doing something. The issue is, do we find the why of our life? Most of us know what we do. Some of us know how we do it. Very few people know why we do it. And the successful ones amongst us know why we are doing something, because that drives you. Because then it's no more a job. Honestly, for me, my job was never a job. It was something that I loved. Honestly, consulting was not an area which I ever thought I'd be in. I stumbled into it and I remained in it for my full life. And I really love it. I even still love it today. And I think it is, if it is your love, it's your passion, then you go much beyond the call of duty. Then you do not look for it. But I think one very important point I want to leave out here, and I think Professor also mentioned it, that we need to become the best version of ourselves. Whatever we do, we need to become the best version of ourselves. The issue and challenge with most of us is that we are not being able to segregate our home from our office. When we come into office, be focused on office work. When you go home, be focused on the home. Once you're able to smartly operate between these two, I think you would have achieved a lot in your life and you would have gone much further than everywhere. And I think we need to bring in some work-life flexibility. We need to bring flexibility into it. We cannot be dogmatic about anything. There, like I said, there is no one right answer. Some days your work will take preference. Some days your home will take preference. Each one will be categorized differently, and we need to respect that. And the organization which you work for needs to respect that. It needs to respect your personal time. It needs to respect your personal challenges, the personal issues that you're going through, and and it will really pay you great wonders. I remember this one incident of this one person who's a director with us in KPMG when I was there, and he got affected by cancer, and we had a policy in our firm that you give X amount of leave to a person, and his leave was all exhausted. Then other employees could contribute their leave. That was also exhausted. And I remember the partner from that practice, from that city, called me and he said, now the challenge before you is, what are you going to do now? And the call that we took at that time was that as long as this guy is there and he was fighting a grave disease, life-threatening disease, that we would continue to pay his salary. And I still remember, unfortunately, he died. We employed his wife. The first mail that I got from his wife at that time was that, what you did, I feel KPMG is my first family. I think you have to touch employees' lives. Employers need to touch employees' lives. You want the best out of people, you need to go out and do that extra best from your side. I still remember for 20 years back, I was interviewing this very young girl who had just qualified as a chartered accountant. And she didn't want to work late. In consulting, you work long hours, crazy hours at times. And she said, I'm newly married. I want to spend my time with my husband. And, I've got a family. I want to enjoy that part of my life. And I told her, then there'll be a different kind of career path for you. It's not that we don't want to take you, but there'll be a different career path for you. She gave me one story. And that was the first time I heard it. And I thought I'll share it with you. Maybe you've already read it many times. I've researched it after that, actually, the last 2-3 years. But this was told to me 20 years back by this young girl, what she calls the 5-ball theory. She said, each of us in our lives juggle 5 balls. We are juggling 5 balls. One is family. One is work. One is health, friends, and integrity, or you can call it your character, or whatever you want to call it. You can call it by whatever name you want, the last one. And when you're juggling these 5 balls, one ball, that is your job or your work, is a rubber ball. Even if it falls, it will bounce back. But the other 4 balls, that is your family, your health, your friends, and in this case, I put integrity, you can put any other word you want. They are glass balls. And if they break, they'll either be smashed or there will be a crack. It will never be the same again. So we need to nurture. So to be a complete human being, you need to ensure that your life is spread in such a way that you're able to give different proportions of your time to what you want. But it also depends where you want in life. Many people find happiness in any kind of job. So they find, okay, I would rather spend more time with my family and I don't need to get there. It's all an individual call that we take. But if you want to be successful, if you want to reach the highest standards which you've set yourself, because please understand one thing, if you do well, you earn more money and you're able to take care of your family even better. So you need to take that call as to what you want to do with life there. And also in a country like India, please understand, India is one of the fastest, just forget this COVID period now, which is a bump which we have gone through. India is probably one of the fastest growing economies in the world. When you're growing at the pace at which we are growing, we need to work much more. We need to work much harder than what our colleagues will work in other Western parts of the world who have already gone through this hump. So I think the India growing, where your career today is, and our ability to actually work smartly is something that we need to look at. So then will you say that, okay, work-life balance, so what is it then? Is the moment we start saying work-life balance, so we are saying work is different, life is different. I think we need to move to work-life harmony. We need to bring harmony between between our work and our life. It is one. There is no two parts to it. Because please understand, take your full 24-hour day. For everybody who's working, you spend 8 hours working, at least 8 to 9 hours working. Substantial amount of time goes on your work, and which you work hard. You get your rewards for it. You're able to take care of your family. You're able, see also your status, social status in society, important things in life, because your children grow up, they feel proud of you. They look at you as role models, and then they see the, but at each point of time, I think we need to ensure that we are leading life the right way. And the 2 points I want to leave here. One is integrity, and the other one is empathy. These are 2 qualities that a leader should always possess. And if a leader possesses these 2 qualities, because integrity for me means doing the right thing even when nobody is looking. So you're at the traffic signal, no cops are there, you will still stop when the light is red. So that is integrity. It is not about saying, okay, nobody's there, let me break the signal and go. Simple example, but I just want to tell you, doing the right thing when nobody's looking at you. So I think what we need to do is we need to look and say, do we love our work? We need to ask our question. We should be able to, I'll give you my own examples. When I used to work, I'm talking many years back, I used to drive my own car back home. And I used to use that 1 hour of driving home in Bombay from my office to my home, listening to music. I used to unwind and actually get into a very different mode by the time I reached home. Music is a great leveler. So we need to find that one particular hobby or that one thing which helps us de-stress. Because when we work in a very stressful environment, we need something which we can de-stress ourselves and become very, so that we actually get our balance back, because life is whatever it is. I think the other time is spending quality time. People, you know what they do generally? They go on a holiday, half the time they're on calls with office. Doesn't serve any purpose, because you are actually upsetting your family, because you are supposed to spending family time. So similarly, when you are in office, do your office work. When you're at home, do your homework. Once you're able to draw these lines and you're able to cut off your office when you reach home, I think is one of the big things which I followed in my life. Yeah, whatever time it took me to sit in office, even if it took 11, 12 in the night, I would sit, but I would never take work home. That is one thing which I used. We should learn to delegate. We need to use technology. We see, once you become secure in your life and you become secure about things, a lot of these things actually move on. I would like to end by saying two things. Your role in both your personal and professional life is to leave the jersey in a better place. The spirit of stewardship, something that was taught to me very early in my life. Everything you hold is in trust to be given back to the next generation better than what you received it. And there was this one quote that I read is, be a good ancestor, plant trees that you'll never see. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. You very nicely you linked success and hard work to work-life balance, and for you elaborated on the fact that organizational culture plays a major role in positively influencing work-life balance. I now request the participants to kindly ask your questions in the chat box. You can raise your questions, participants. Till that time, sir, may I raise one question is to each of you?
Sure.
My first question is to Professor Patnaik. Sir, how can we relate positive psychology to the work-life balance?
I think this is a very pertinent question. I personally feel that everything starts with perception. We perceive as we are, not the things are. So positivity is a mindset. I have seen people, they have made their life in so different way that in adversities also they think positive. I don't expect people to get into that platform, but definitely my suggestion would be that nurturing an optimistic thought process, which we call it as learned optimism. I think Seligman has written a book on this, that the optimism can be learned. So we need to look at the positive side of the life. And the moment we develop attitude, automatically it shapes to a positive psychology. And if the thought process is positive, I think you will not find any lopsided approach in your work life. And I must compliment whatever Mr. Richard Reiki narrated through his own experience, that if you do something with your passion, it will not create dissatisfaction. So therefore, it has been told by many people that love what you do, because it is not possible to do what you love all the time. So many a times we expect something in the life and we don't get. So whatever we get, we should start loving it. And in a very lighter sense, I keep on saying to my students that most of the time, the younger generation, when they see a movie, they feel I should get a husband like Shah Rukh Khan, or maybe a wife like, let us say, Aishwarya Rai. But Aishwarya Rai is only one, and Shah Rukh Khan is only one. So it is better, whatever you have in your life, to think, Rai. So that positive thought process will give you lots of happiness.
Thank you, sir. Now my question is to Mr. Reiki. Sir, I read a report by BBC some days back which says that post-COVID-19, many organizations will ask the employees to work from home for around 4 days a week. So they have to go to office only one day to meet the people or something like that. So in that situation, how do you see the importance of work-life balance? They would be spending more time at home.
So, so it has two advantages and two disadvantages. Let me tell you, I know a number of people who are working from home who are not actually able to even spend any time with the family, because from morning to evening they're stuck on back-to-back calls, or doing different things. So I think new rules will have to be written up for work from home. There are no rules because nobody's ever worked from home at this stage, at this with this so for so long. People have worked off and on, but not this is like wholesale working from home. Many companies, just to share with you, some really large law firms in the UK have decided to do away with office, and they are becoming virtual completely. So many organizations, large organizations, also TCS announced only 25% will be working in office, 75% will work from home. BBC, your report which was there, I think when people are sitting at home, it does give you more time with the family, because you are at home, you can spend time. And but I would still say rules will need to be written for this, because what has happened, your office is coming to your home, and when office comes into your home, there are no lines, it becomes blurred. And I think we need to give the employees the space of time that they need to spend quality family time. So I think organizations will need to ensure that the calls are not late in the night or early in the morning, so that people get time to have their lunch, people get time to be with the family. So I think that's something that would need, those rules will come up. Let me tell you, they're definitely going to come up. In fact, many organizations even pay the employees to work from home, because there are some costs incurred by the employee when you work from home, whether it's Wi-Fi cost, electricity, etc. So many organizations are also doing that. I'm sure a lot of things will come up, but I think it is very, very important. And I just want to leave one point out here. We individually have to decide what we want to do with our lives. I think this, I was hearing, I don't remember whether it was Narayan Murthy or whether it was KV Kamath, I don't remember who it was. He's saying work till you're 60 and then talk of balance. So, so it all depends how we want to look at our life. I'm not saying that's the right answer, but that was an answer of a person who's very successful, both successful individuals. I don't remember who said it, but I remember one of them said it. So I think we need to ensure that if we want to do well, we want to have a good life, we would have to work hard. There is no substitute for it. I'm sorry, I'm repeating it again, but I think that's very important.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I just want to add one point to Mr. Richard Reiki, whatever he has said. Whatever may be, I think working from home has given us an opportunity to understand that we go to work just not for the work. It is something plus plus.
Yeah.
And here the theory of deprivation works. Anything we are deprived of, we feel very much upset. And we are deprived of the work environment. We are deprived of the freedom to move around. So those are creating more stress. This has made an understanding to everybody that look, workplace is just not for work. It is work life, the quality of work life, which also add substantial value to our whole life. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now we've got some questions. First one is from Mr. Santosh Panda. He is asking that, like both of you spoke about that we should develop a line between work and home, but he's asking, is it really possible in today's conditions?
Okay, let me answer this, because let me tell you, I'm not the ideal example, okay? Let me tell you that hours of work that I put in, and the work that I put in, not to pat myself on the back, but because I'd set myself an ambition that when I became the CEO of KPMG in India, I wanted to take the organization to a particular place. And I made a commitment to myself on that day that I'm going to be available 24/7 to the organization. And I meant in many ways that. So I'm not the ideal example. Despite that, I was still able to draw lines. It may not have been the ideal line, but I was still able to draw lines of where I was spending time with my family and where I was spending time at my work. So I think the point with most of us do is, and I'm including all of us, including myself, we waste a lot of time at work. If we become more effective at it, I think we can get more time to go back to. And this, it reminds me, many years back, I'd gone to Australia. These guys used to come in at 7 o'clock in the morning or 6:30 a.m. in the morning into office. And by 5 o'clock, they were all gone. Because at 5 o'clock, they would go home and eat their lunch at that time. And then they would spend all that time with their family. So, so I think somewhere along the line, and they would work very hard in that period. When they would come into office, it was only work, no chit chat, nothing else, everything out there. So I think the one thing that I will leave with, and this is I've seen it across organizations. So I'm not saying any particular city or any particular this thing where people actually waste a lot of time at work. If we can get that right, I think we will be able to draw those lines much more clearer. I'm not the best example, let me tell you personally, but I think there are many good examples I've seen in my life who have been able to do it.
Thank you, sir. Now we have got a question from a student, Pragya Mishra. So
Okay.
he's asking that being a student, how to find work life, what should be our priority at this point, and how can we keep ourselves positive to serve it?
Positive to?
Serve it.
Okay. Professor, would you like to take that question, or?
Well, I did not get
Professor
the question. Please repeat.
Sir, she's asking that being a student, how to find work-life balance, what should be our priority at this point, and how can we keep ourselves positive to serve it?
Yeah, I will answer it. I think I must tell the new generation, this particular generation, they are quite intelligent. They are very smart. But one thing I observe, and I'm sure the similar experience must be with all the parents, that the discipline, the self-discipline, managing their lifestyle is very poor. So therefore, many times they are under stress for nothing. Second thing is, sometimes they don't realize their capability of delivery. And third one is, they lack patience. Many times they need instant coffee, instant relationship, instant divorce, and instant everything. So it has a flip side of it also. If you want things quickly to happen, then you must understand that whatever the challenges are there, that has to be managed. So as a student, first of all, be very precise. Please manage your lifestyle. When I say lifestyle, you should sleep minimum 7 to 8 hours. And calculate 8 hours. Second thing is, prioritize the goal of life. And for every student, it is just not the study. Study is one aspect. There are many other aspects to the life. Learning the life skills, learning at home the behavior, the etiquette of the parent, and also watching the beautiful nature and try to learn out of it. I hope I have replied to her question. I hope so.
Thank you, sir. Now here is another question. Mr. Sanmayrath is asking that in these unpredictable times, we have no clues what would happen to us in the forthcoming months. So when almost there is a zero livelihood and salary is a real issue, how to maintain an equilibrium even if the work-life balance does not apply to us as of now?
I think, honestly, nobody can answer this question. We are living through very, very tough times. It's a pandemic. It is happening after almost 100 years. So there would be nobody who can actually give an answer. But I would only say one thing. I think we need to continuously maintain our positivity. And also, this is the true test of character of leadership. This time, if you ask me, leadership has truly been tested. How we are going to respond and react to the situation. We have seen many cases where people's salaries have been cut. Many people have lost their jobs. And I think it is going to be challenging for those people when they go through some of those challenges. My sympathies are with them. And one thing which has come to the fore, and I think it's very important for us to realize, and I think if you look at the mirror, the dark reality is very simple. In this world, if you want to survive, and this was one very advice given to me many years back in Arthur Andersen, you always have to be relevant. And I would just leave this with students, with people who are working, and with everybody else. If you are relevant and if you are updated on your skills, I don't think anybody can take away your job. And I would use this opportunity to upskill myself, to learn new things. Let me tell you, even at my stage in my life, I'm every day trying to learn new things. Every day I'm trying to learn a new subject. I'm trying to get into new topics. Because it's very exciting world that we're coming into, which is unfolding before us. And it's interesting because now I work in the Dubai market, which is a very mature market compared to India. And they are technologically so advanced. But if you want to go and meet all the top chairmen and CEOs, you need to be talking their language. And I think that's where I think remaining relevant for people is very important. I would use this time to upskill myself and just hang in there and wait for the opportunity as it opens. We do not know where it is going. Maybe 6 months, 1 year, we do not know. Personally, I feel this situation will last about 2 years before anything can come to even somewhere near normal. And whatever that normal is, I don't know. There is going to be a new normal. Everybody's salaries are being reset. But please understand, the whole world is being reset. So it is not only your salary that is being reset, the whole world. If everything is going down 20%, even the world is contracting 20%. So it is not that much of an impact. And I think we need to go through this time. I can tell you myself as a consumer, hardly in these 5 months I've done any shopping. I mean, the consumerism in many ways, those kind of industries have been impacted because we have realized that we can still lead a life which is very different. I would call it minimalist life, which is much more than what we lived earlier. Earlier, we would go out and do some shopping. I'm just giving some small examples for people to get it from there. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We'll take 2 more questions. One for Professor Patnaik. The specific question to you, sir, from Dr. Smarky. What does ideal balance look like to you in your life?
I think it's a very difficult question, but I would be very straight in giving the reply. Throughout my career and life, I have never differentiated between personal life and work life because I love working. I love working. And whatever I do, that is because of my passion, and I derive happiness from that. Luckily, I can treat myself as a lucky person because I am doing what I love. And the moment you start doing what you love, I think probably there is no question of thinking whether it is balance or imbalance. The second thing is that workaholic doesn't mean that you have to compromise and also your happiness related to the family. Even if you are the most successful person in your professional career, you can also become a very good parent or a very good son of your parents. It is only that you need to prioritize and take action. I hope I have replied to her question. I think.
Thank you, sir. Sir, a specific question to Mr. Rekhi by Mr. Suresh Jain, a chartered accountant. He is asking, today students are worried about work-life balance and are unable to decide what they should do in life. Your views, sir. Specific question to you, Mr. Rekhi.
Okay. So I think the one advice I can give the students, which I've always been giving and I'll continue to give it, I think you need to work hard. You need to first get, sorry?
Smariki, please, Smariki, mute your audio.
So I think the most important thing is that we need to first, the problem with students is when they go for their first job, they go for the brand. I want to work for this company. I would suggest one thing, and I would just leave one or two suggestions with students. When you're going for your first job, first work for people or look at the role definition that you're going to get. What is the role you're going to play? What are you going to learn? Because whatever you're going to learn there, like in my career, I can tell you, though it happened accidentally, I learned everything in Ratan S. Mama and Company. And that's what I implemented in the Big Four experience. But all my learnings, all my groundings came in that small organization. So it is what you learn and the job that you get, number one. Number two, I would say never sell anything that you would not buy. And the third is always work for somebody whom you respect. Whoever is your manager or the organization, you should respect that person and you should be able to go for that. So I would say, look at it from that perspective. I would let the students, each of you are looking at very tough jobs, but I think if you want to make it in life, there will be a lot of sacrifices to be made. It is your choice. Where do you want to get in life? If you want to reach somewhere in life, you would need to put in those extra hours. And like Professor Patnaik said, the younger generation, they want instant I'm talking generally, but some of them are different. They want instant gratification. And I think it's time to have patience. It's time to understand failures. My biggest learnings came from all my failures. Today, whatever I am is because I failed many times, and those failures taught me a lot. And I think that is what we need to work on. I hope, Suresh, I was able to answer you. I'm sorry, I don't know whether.
Sir, he seems satisfied with your answer. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now coming to the last part of the session, thank you, sirs. It is a very wonderful session. And what I conclude from this session is that work-life balance is having the flexibility to get things done in the professional life while still having time and energy to enjoy our personal life. Because for each of us, work-life balance will be different. It is individual. Depending on our priority, we have to decide how much we have to give to our work life and how much to our personal life. And there is no fixed formula, because whatever is regarded as the right balance today can change tomorrow. So today's work-life balance, the perfect work-life balance may change tomorrow to something different. To quote Jim Bard here, the two key elements at the core of an effective work-life balance are achievement and enjoyment. So we can maintain work-life balance so long as we are happy with and are proud of whatever we achieve and enjoy doing so, may it be personal or professional. Now, thank you very much, sir. I hold
one point.
Yes, sir. Yes,
one
sir.
point. And I would like to just give a concluding statement. Working hard for something we don't care about is stress. Working hard for something we love is passion.
Yeah.
So people should try to search for the passion, and there would be no imbalances in the life. I'm sure about it. Thank you. Yeah, it's okay.
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. All the best. All the best in your lives.
Thank you, sir. Now, on behalf of ASBM family, I wholeheartedly thank Mr. Richard Rekhi for sparing his time with us. I also thank Professor Patnaik, the president of ASBM University, for being a panel member and sharing his thoughts. I'd like to thank the Vice Chancellor of the University, Professor Kalyan Rai. My sincere thanks to all my colleagues, both in teaching and in administration, specifically Professor Abhijit Mandal, Lalit and Vibhu Abu. My sincere thanks to all the participants. We'll be sending your e-certificates very soon. And I invite you all to Join us again in our next webinar on 21st August 2020 on trade and investment, the post-COVID scenario. This will be moderated by Dr. Sudhanshekhar Nanda. Thank you very much. Thank you all. Stay safe and please take care. Thank you, sir.
Bye. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Mr. Naiki.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Nice seeing you after a long time. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Very nice program. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.